if Publicis, the French company, is swallowed up by Omnicom, the American company, can the French government allow that? How dare an American...
I mean, it's a really interesting question, Tom, but it's a merger of equals, or I think it's more actually a merger of unequals, because if you look at the relative revenues, I mean, Omnicom has $14 billion of revenue, and Publicis is $8 billion. They're equal in terms of profitability because the French company is a better-run company, but both companies end up with 50%. It doesn't make much sense, and it's nil premium. They're going to have co-CEOs, so the last merger of equals we had, I think, was Daimler Chrysler, which did not go too well, to put it mildly. So it's I think one has to take one's hat off, chapeau, as one calls it in France, to Maurice Levy for engineering an incredible deal to end up on a 50-50 basis. He'll become chairman in 3 or 4 2.5 years' time, and in the meantime we'll have co-CEOs, which is a structure, a very uncomfortable structure. To go back to your question about who has control, I think the critical issue will be who will be CFO of the combined operation. If it's the French CFO, Etienne, then probably the French will feel more comfortable. If it's Randy Weisenberger, the American, I think the French are going to find it distinctly uncomfortable.
Is this a
so
good
we shall see what happens on that.
Sir Martin, is this a good thing for you in that a lot of talent will exit this merger of dinosaurs?
Well, I don't know about dinosaurs, a bit unfair. I mean, one analyst did say, why didn't they call it Omnicom and Publicis? And that would have made OAP, which in English means old age pensioners, which I thought was quite amusing. And of course, if you take the color orange, which was meant to be for Omnicom, and purple, which was meant to be for Publicis as code names, if you mix those two, you get a muddy brown color or a gray color. So it's quite interesting to speculate on what these two companies would look like together. I wouldn't call them dinosaurs, but you're right, Tom, that the strategies have been completely different. Publicis, like ourselves, have been very focused on fast growth markets and digital. As a result of this transaction, those proportions actually decline in the combined operation, and we will have the largest, faster growing market and digital exposure at over 1/3 of the company.
Well, Sir Martin...
Secondly, Omnicom's strategy was always to ignore fast growth markets and digital, and now effectively they're buying a big roll-up in those areas. So I think it's sort of counter the strategy of the two companies. It's very expedient, but again, you have to applaud the French, much as some of us might find it difficult to do. You have to applaud the French for a brilliantly engineered deal, which probably in the UK market would not happen because nobody would accept a nil premium merger, which is this is what it is.
Well, Sir Martin, it's Sara here. No matter how you look at the strategies, it would be a giant company, and it would overtake your company, your WPP, as the world's largest advertising firm. Is being the world's largest advertising firm an important thing for you?
Well, we were number 2, then number 1, then number 2, then number 1, and now number 2 again, if the deal goes through. If you look at it on scale, Sara, if you look at Europe, if you look at Asia, you look at Latin America and Africa and Middle East, we're roughly similar. In fact, in Asia and Europe will still be larger in terms of scale, particularly in media planning and buying. In America, of course, they will be significantly larger, and I think that's where the regulators will look at the issue. But certainly media owners and certainly clients, I think, are concerned about it. And of course, Bloomberg had this story on July the 18th and 19th, and they actually ran the story single-sourced on Friday night. And I think it ran ahead of the schedule and timetable that Omnicom and Publicis were running, and I think it's left them a bit short on clients. So coming back to Tom's question, I think what we're seeing in our industry now is the industry gaining a state of equilibrium, much more of an equilibrium now than it had. There was going to be further consolidation. We've always said this on Bloomberg and elsewhere. But now I think there's a state of equilibrium, and it gives us a chance really to build organically because, as Tom indicated, this is going to mean that clients and people will reassess their plans, will reassess their arrangements, and it's a big organic opportunity for WPP and Omnicom and Publicis' competitors.
You talk about a big organic opportunity. What's keeping you from going out and making a bid for Interpublic right now?
Well, I said organic, and I think that's where the opportunity is. I mean, I think Maurice Levy himself said that he had considered two other opportunities apart from Omnicom. One was Interpublic, and the other one was Ipsos. And he rejected them on the basis of being too expensive. And when you look at this deal, you can see why, because he's really merged with Omnicom on an extremely attractive basis. But I don't think it's necessary, Sarah, for there to be further consolidation, at least from our point of view. We have the scale, we have the quality. We're very focused on four things: fast growth markets, digital,
right,
consumer insight, and then building horizontality, as we call it, across our business.
In the time we've got left with you, there's a 35-year-old today at Omnicom or Publicis that's going, what happened over the weekend? What is your number one selling point to drag that star performer over to WPP?
Well, there's going to be considerable uncertainty over the next 30 months as both organizations struggle for control. I mean, there is no such thing as a merger of equals, as you well know, Tom. What you have, there are only things such as acquisitions. So it's all a question about who's going to run the company. And in those two companies, you have two contrasting styles. You have Publicis, which is highly centralized out of Paris. You have Omnicom, which is highly decentralized out of New York and out of Florida. And it's a very different approach. And I think the two companies are going to, over the next 30 months, and I think beyond that, are going to have to wrestle with that. And right, it is a very, very big company, as you said, with multiple brands, which at least is going to result in consolidation. Interestingly, yesterday they said there were $500 million of synergies,
right,
and they said there would be no headcount reduction.
Okay,
that doesn't add up.
That doesn't add up.